Hey there, folks! By now, many of you have probably already enjoyed watching Amazon's incredible adaptation of the comic book series, The Boys. If you haven't, well, what are you waiting for? Watch it right now. Before we dive in, I just have to say that watching this show was an absolute blast. And in my humble opinion, it's just as good as, if not better than, any movie Marvel Studios has put out there. Yeah, you heard me right. Deal with it. Now, let's get on with the show, but first, a quick spoiler alert. There will be some spoilers ahead, so consider yourself warned. For those who haven't seen it, the series revolves around a young guy named Huey, whose girlfriend tragically gets turned into a red mist by the super-fast superhero A-Train. Talk about mighty unfortunate. This event introduces us to the larger world of superheroes who work for a giant multinational corporation and seem to care more about saving profits than saving lives. The show raises a fascinating question. What if ordinary people suddenly gained powers that essentially removed consequences from their actions? And what if a soulless corporation controlled them? It's an intriguing concept that I've often pondered myself. While this is all incredibly interesting to explore, and I highly recommend watching the show, if you want to delve deeper into this question, it's just the beginning. The show isn't really about superheroes at all. In my opinion, The Boys is a scathing commentary on celebrity life and our obsession with it. The world is completely enamored with these superheroes without truly knowing anything about them. Within the first 20 minutes of the premiere episode, we discover that they have an extremely callous and negligent approach to protecting people, perfectly exemplified by A-Train sprinting right through Huey's girlfriend without even stopping to apologize. And this isn't an isolated incident. It's just the worst example. So, how can they be so popular when they are actually kind of, well, stupid? The superheroes, both collectively and individually, represent various aspects of modern celebrity culture, and they're all managed by a soulless corporation called Vought. This is perhaps the most obvious metaphor in the show. In the real world, nearly all celebrities have teams of people responsible for managing their public persona and ensuring their brands are marketable and profitable. And what do you think Vaught's primary concern is? Just consider all those pop stars, especially the female ones, who are manufactured to appear perfectly innocent when they're younger. We all know they're not because nobody is perfectly innocent, but that's how the labels want us to perceive them. And most of the time, it works. We get sucked right in because we're desperate to believe that you can be a decent, honest, and genuine person while still being successful in the entertainment world. But here's the spoiler. You need to be at least a tiny bit of a douchebag to make it in entertainment, something The Boys frequently highlights. This is what managers and public relations people do. They manage your public persona so that everyone thinks you're a super nice person and you can appeal to as many demographics as possible. And this is exactly what Vought does. What makes this metaphor interesting is the power dynamic between Vought and its heroes. Rather than the heroes calling the shots, the corporation tells the superpowered individuals what to do, and they comply. Every one of these superpowered douchebags could easily decimate the corporation, and nobody could do anything about it, but they don't. They consistently do things they don't want to do and refrain from doing things they don't want to do. In my opinion, this parallels how modern celebrities are treated and constantly micromanaged until their lives barely resemble what they would choose for themselves. They're told where to go, what to do, and how to act by a team of profiteers behind the scenes. The Seven have a bottomless pit of money to draw from, as Translucent reveals in one scene, but the money, fame, and adulation don't seem to satisfy any of them. Nobody is happy. Despite having everything, nearly all of them feel incomplete. Is this because of their micromanaged lives and lack of autonomy? Or are they just broken people? Remember when I said Vought was the most obvious metaphor? Well, I was wrong. The general population in The Boys is pretty much the same as the general population in real life. A huge collection of people who are so enamored with their chosen celebrity that they don't even bother entertaining the thought that they may not be who they think they are. The stories and reports of the Seven engaging in unsavory things are all out there. Still, each time a story pops up, Vought diffuses it by getting in front of it, issuing an empty apology, pretending the issue doesn't exist at all, or coercing people into signing NDAs to hide the problem. And because the population desperately wants to believe that the heroes are truly heroic, they're happy to swallow the PR fed to them, although pretty much all the heroes have nothing but contempt for their fans. Sound familiar? I hate to say it because it sounds awful, but publicly, A-Train is pretty much the stereotype of how pop culture tells us black people behave. He spouts the same tired black cliches we see in a lot of movies, constantly playing up to the cameras for attention and worship, and is presented as a character almost entirely focused on his reputation. For the cameras and fans, he's put forward as a valuable member of the team and a shining example for black people to aspire to. Behind the scenes at Vought, however, we see that he's a character who has zero influence over any member of the team. He's nearly always used as a method of increasing the group's popularity within the black community by constantly having him attend public functions and participate in stunts. He represents the idea that a person of color can be successful in corporate entertainment so long as he's willing to play the role and do as his corporate masters tell him. Maeve is one of only 2 females in the group, and despite having a similar power level to Homelander, she does not occupy the same status at all. Initially, we're given the impression that she's as complicit in the group as anyone else. Over time, we begin to learn that she's not entirely happy being in the group, and is often pushed or coerced into doing things by Homelander under the threat of violence. Like A-Train, she's presented as a valuable member of the team, but behind closed doors, it's pretty obvious that she's mostly ignored. Although it's not explicitly stated in the show whether her relationship with Homelander was entirely her choice, she does make it clear that she did not enjoy the experience. While it's conjecture on my part, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Vought probably manufactured the relationship to turn the two into a celebrity power couple. Later in the show, we find out that she used to have a relationship with a woman who she cared for quite a lot, but was forced to give it up when she joined the Seven. So, to become a super celebrity, she had to hide her sexuality to remain popular with all demographics. Now, I know she says that the people they love will be used against them, hinting at why she gave up the relationship, but there is no sign of her status as bisexual anywhere in the mainstream. To me, this makes it far more likely that Vought has kept it under wraps to help her appeal to a wider demographic, and also create the power couple between her and Homelander. Starlight is probably the most interesting metaphor, as she represents the talented newcomer. She comes to the Seven as a naive young superhero who idolizes them to the point where she has spent her entire life preparing to join their ranks. For her, the chance to work with the Seven is a dream come true. She took to the streets stopping crime, manufactured her uniform, and led a clean, healthy life. When her skills are recognized as being good enough to gain entry to the Seven, she quickly learns why people say we should never meet our heroes. This is an obvious parallel with the passage into stardom, which I imagine is presented to many young and attractive women in entertainment. Compromise your morals to satisfy someone in a more powerful position than you, or say goodbye to fame and fortune. She chooses the former. This is the first of many harsh realities to strike Starlight as she quickly unravels the glamour of the celebrity lifestyle and is consistently asked to do and say things that are incongruous with her thoughts and feelings, pushed into changing her image for a racier one to make her more marketable. The message, like before, is clear. You cannot be who you want to be and be a famous superhero. Even when she returns to her authentic self during episode 8 and turns on the Seven to help Huey, she does so knowing that it will effectively be the end of her status in the group. The effect of celebrity is an interesting one, and is demonstrated well in our first real interaction with the Deep. He interprets Starlight's fangirl gushing as a sexual advance, and, despite it being inappropriate, drops his pants expecting a starry-eyed, naive fan to be more than happy to service him. When she rejects him, he uses his supposed status within the group to then offer her a choice. She can trade sexual favors for her place, or she can go back home to her small-town life. This not only shows how his status has warped his perspective to make him believe that all of his behavior is normal, but also shows the power dynamic that can exist between a fan and their idol, a power dynamic that can and does get exploited, often. There is a second aspect to the Deep, which I also think reflects celebrity culture, the notion that their status in pop culture gives them the authority to do some good. After he realizes that his position with the Seven is, and always has been, a joke, he decides to start rescuing sea animals. However, each time he tries to do something good, the creature ends up dead. I think this is a pretty accurate reflection of what happens when celebrities decide to become experts or solve problems that they don't comprehend properly. I saved the best for last. Homelander is everything that is wrong with celebrity status and also everything that is wrong with our adulation of it. In the beginning, we are led to believe that he is just like Superman, a squeaky clean Boy Scout who is a shining example to the young boys and girls of the world. American as apple pie, he even wears the flag as his cape. He is the figurehead of Vought's mutant house of celebrity, which makes it even more perverse that he is the most sociopathic of them all. Throughout the entire series, Homelander puts on a smiling, wholesome face for the crowds and fans, while outwardly displaying deplorable behavior behind the scenes. He is a narcissistic, egotistical, manipulative, and violent individual who believes that his power and status allow him to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, to whomever he wants. Sound like any celebrities you know? The truly disturbing part is that, despite his heinous actions, the public still adores him. They are so enamored with the idea of Homelander that they willfully ignore any evidence that contradicts their belief in his heroism. This blind worship is what allows him to continue his reign of terror unchecked. In conclusion, The Boys is a brilliant and biting commentary on the dark side of celebrity culture and our unhealthy obsession with it. Through its diverse cast of characters, the show exposes the ugly truth behind the glitz and glamour of fame and fortune. It forces us to confront the harsh reality that the people we idolize may not be the heroes we believe them to be, and that the corporations that control them are more interested in profits than in the well-being of the public. So, the next time you find yourself fawning over a celebrity, remember the lessons taught by The Boys. Question what you see, think critically about the media you consume, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. After all, as the show so brilliantly demonstrates, sometimes the real heroes are the ones who stand up against the corrupt system, even if it means risking everything.